Hey guys, back with the rest of the amendments, taking a look at amendments 11 through 27, really quick on through three slides. This amendment, amendment number 11, modified Article 3 of Section 2, protects the states from lawsuits filed by citizens in other states or countries. Amendment number 12 superseded a portion of Article 2, Section 1. It requires a separate ballot for the president and vice president. There was some trouble with that right off the bat. Amendment number 13 supersedes a portion of Article 4, Section 2 that abolishes slavery. That's an important one to remember. Amendment 13 abolishes slavery. Amendment 14 modifies Article 1, Section 2, and that defines citizenship and the rights of citizenship. That's another important one there. Amendment 15 prohibits national and state governments from denying the right to vote based on race. That's another one to remember and keep in mind. So 13 and 15, actually 13, 14, and 15 are all going to be important pieces as it relates to rights and citizenships, rights and how they relate to citizenship, especially as it relates to race. In amendment number 16, this modifies Article 1, Section 9, and that says that Congress can tax income. That's the money that people make in their jobs. Amendment 17 modifies Article 1, Section 3. That establishes the direct election of United States senators. Prior to that, United States senators were elected by the legislatures of each state, and now those are voted on by popular vote. That means the people get to vote for them. Amendment number 18 prohibits the manufacture, sale, transportation of intoxicating liquors. This is called prohibition, and basically Amendment 18 passes during a time when people are really thinking that alcohol is evil and that we just want to get rid of it completely in this country. So basically it makes having it in any way, shape, or form illegal. It was a huge failure, and so not long after that we get another amendment that rescinds the 18th Amendment. But before that we get Amendment number 19, and that prohibits national and state governments from denying the right to vote based on gender. This is where women finally get to the right to vote. It takes up till Amendment 19 for that finally to happen. Amendment number 20 modifies Article 1, Section 4 and supersedes a portion of the 12th Amendment, and that changes the date for the starting of a new congressional term and inaugurating the new president. That changes from December to a January date. So on this slide, some important ones here. Prohibition you often will hear about as it relates in our history, and just sort of an interesting kind of consideration for what must the cultural norm at that time had to have been in order for enough people to think that that Amendment number 18 was a good idea for it to pass. And then the idea here too, and with Amendment number 19, that it took that long for women to finally get the right to vote, and still a struggle to see that gender equity and fairness across the genders, even today in 2019. Taking a look at the remaining here, Amendments 21 through 27. Amendment 21 repeals Amendment 18. This one ends prohibition. It was, like I said, a spectacular failure. People didn't quit using alcohol. They simply took it underground, basically. And so you had all these little hidden places that people knew about that they could go to get what they were looking for anyway. Amendment 22 limits the presidential terms to 2. Prior to this amendment, there was no actual verbiage in the document that said presidents can only serve 2 terms. George Washington set the precedent by saying, nope, he was out at the end of 2. And for the most part, people followed that until somebody didn't. And then we said, hey, you know what? We probably should have an amendment for that. So you can't be elected to the position more than twice is what the Amendment 22 essentially establishes. Amendment 23 grants residents of the District of Columbia the right to vote in presidential elections. I always find this one interesting, that the folks who live closest to the nation's capital up until Amendment 23 did not have the right to vote in presidential elections, and that just seems counterintuitive. So I'm glad they finally got that right. Amendment 24 prohibits denying the right to vote based on a failure to pay poll taxes specifically. When African Americans received citizenship with previous amendments, what we saw in the South in particular were laws passed that were directly passed in an effort to keep African Americans from voting, and that included a poll tax. essentially you would have to pay a tax to be able to vote. And very oftentimes African American populations in those areas were low income. They just didn't have the money to pay those taxes. And so by default, it meant that they couldn't vote. And many of those laws passed during that time were efforts to get around new legislation that protected the rights of African American citizens. And the amendment number 24 specifically bans the use of poll taxes as a requirement for voting. It's another way to protect the rights of all people to be able to access the ability to vote. Amendment 25 affects Article 2, Section 2, and it establishes the procedures for presidential succession. We know that if something were to prevent the president from fulfilling his or her job, then we know that the vice president steps in. But if in the event that neither the president or the vice president could serve in that capacity, basically it outlines a long list of folks who would step in. That's the presidential line of succession. Amendment number 26 modifies the 14th Amendment and established the voting age of 18 years. And then Amendment 27 limits the ability of Congress to increase its pay. So the House of Representatives has what we call the power of the purse. They own the checkbook for the nation, if you will, and Congress can vote to increase their pay. The amendment here establishes that, yes, they can do that. They can establish that they might get a pay raise, but what has to happen is an election cycle has to pass before that raise actually goes into effect. So if Congress raises its pay, an election cycle has to pass before it goes into effect, because that way they're not raising their pay willy-nilly just any old time. They have to then face a re-election vote before the people before they can actually get that raise. And that's just sort of a way to put a little bit of control on the power of the purse there, especially as it relates to their own particular pay raises. So there you go. There's the 27, and many of them may be surprising to you, many of them super important that we rely on every day. And so hopefully that just gives you a better idea of what those amendments look like and how they apply in your everyday life. Thanks for hanging with me.